right, a very pleasant afternoon to all of you, PSQ Nation. It's good to see you all once again gathered for this another fruitful learning session brought to us by the Philippine Society for Quality, or PSQ. My name is Hilmalian Jr. from National University Laguna, and I'm very pleased to host this learning session for this afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good wherever you are here in the country and in the world. I could see that you are very much excited for this learning session today. And of course, I hope that you will have a good connection all throughout. And that of course you are doing good and you're safe, no, even in the aftermath of the typhoon Karding PH. These typhoons come and go, but our drive for learning and our continuous striving for quality continues. That's why we are gathered here for another fruitful webinar, which was conceptualized and is being given to us by PSQ since it understands the crucial role of leadership in quality. Leadership forms the backbone of any organizations. Leadership provide a unity of purpose while establishing the direction of the organization. That's why in this webinar that we will be listening in or tuning in this afternoon, we will be uh, asked to dive into the various facets on how to lead with purpose and meaning. I know you're very much excited. If you are, could you give a shout out to your fellow PSQ Nation members in the chat box and say where you are coming from. If I am going to post a comment, I will say shout out to the PSQ Nation from here in Calamba, Laguna. Where are you coming from? Let us know so that we could uh, tag you along this fun-filled learning session with our very competent speaker. All right. So I know that we are being viewed by a lot of our by the members of the PSQ Nation from various parts of the country in various platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, and um, Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, we're also being tuned in by quality enthusiasts from other parts of the world, like Mr. Noel, who is in KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There you go. I also see Miss Erlin from Cebu, Sir Joe from Manila, Santa Ana Hospital, if I'm not mistaken. Fellow Lagunense, there's Miss Ailey. Hello to all of you. For sure, you are as excited as I am for today's session. Let me begin now by introducing our resource person. Our resource person is a best-selling author and keynote speaker. He is the CEO and principal of the Leadership Project with a vision to impact 1 million lives by empowering leaders to create amazing teams and amazing workplaces where people fall in love with their jobs again. As an executive leader with an outstanding track record in the development of high performance teams and businesses, certified transformational coach, renowned speaker, and host of the Leadership Project podcast, we are being asked by our speaker to join in this movement and challenge the status quo of modern leadership. In May 2022, our speaker became a best selling author with this premier book titled You're a Leader, Now What? Being the number one bestseller in 6 categories. Wow. Our speaker also garnered the Best is the Standard Award at Author Advantage Live 2022 and the Outstanding Leadership Award for Innovation in Education at Education 2.0 2022. Let's give a very big and warm virtual round of applause for our speaker, CEO and principal of the Leadership Project, and someone that we will be looking up to in terms of leadership, Mr. Mick Spiers. Hi, Sir Mick. Good afternoon.
Hi, Hill. Hi, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. I look forward to a wonderful conversation. I'm very excited to see how international the audience is here, very engaged audience, everyone already commenting. So very excited about today's discussion. And I will be talking about purpose and meaning today. Purpose and meaning is important from a leadership point of view. It's important from a quality point of view. Because if you're not heading in the right direction of something that means something, the quality of the product, it's just not there. It's not fit for purpose. It's not fit for function, etc. So everything that we talk about today is a leadership discussion. It's a quality leadership discussion, but at the root of it, it's also a quality discussion. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing this with you today. And thank you so much, Hill, for that warm welcome and that wonderful introduction. And thank you so much for Dr. Ray, for the invite to be with you today as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to get straight into my content. I'm going to share my screen now. Give me 2 moments on that, and we'll be right to go. Okay, there we go. So welcome and thank you for your time today. I very much look forward to this session today. I'm going to go through a little bit of my own purpose and meaning to get us started. And that's going to set the scene for everything that we discussed today. So purpose and meaning. What's the vision that we have here at the Leadership Project is to inspire all leaders to challenge the status quo. As Einstein famously puts it, to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result is the definition of insanity. And yet that's what we're starting to see in the world of leadership. The leadership practices that we're following have been formulated over the last 3, 4, 5 decades, and they haven't necessarily kept pace with a modern world. And that's why we're starting to see a divide today. Our mission then is to enable and empower leaders with all of the knowledge and skills that they need to create amazing teams and amazing workspaces, ones where people fall in love with their jobs again. Now, where does this all come from? Well, I'm going to give you some stats about what's going on in the world, and I'm going to talk about 3 key problems that we see in many workspaces across the world today. The first thing to share with you, depending on whether you look at research from the Association for Talent Development or through to Gallup research, it shows us that only 16 to 20% of people in the world truly love their job and like their boss. That's it. Let that sink in for a bit. Have a look around you. Think about your work colleagues. Think about your friends. Think about your family. Then imagine that only 1 in 5 of those people truly love their job and like their boss. Then the sobering thought is that we're spending up to 1/3 of our lives in these workspaces that either don't inspire us or, worse still, completely stress us out. And you don't deserve, your friends don't deserve, your family don't deserve to be spending up to 1/3 of your life in a place that's stressing you out. So we want to help leaders to create those amazing environments, the environments where people can do their very best work, where they can have purpose and meaning in what they do, where they have a voice, where their opinions are valued, and where they feel like they matter. And that's going to be a big part of what we talk about today. And the ultimate goal is to get people to fall in love with their jobs again. Because you all know out there that when you love what you do, you always do a better job. So it's good for the individual, but it's also good for business. Because people that are inspired always go above and beyond. So let's go through some of the things that we're seeing in the marketplace today. The first one I hear a lot is about a great talent shortage. Executives complaining, we just can't find good people. But I'm going to put it to you that it's not a lack of people. There are plenty of good people out there that want to do a good job. It's a lack of clarity and it's a lack of inspiration. There's plenty of people out there, necessarily know why they're doing what they're doing. They're not inspired and they don't have clarity of purpose. The next one that we see is what we call the Great Resignation. You can put things in the chat and I'll try and keep this interactive as we go. Let us know if you've heard of this term, the Great Resignation, before. It first started in the US, but it's starting to spread out. And what's happening is people are leaving seemingly good jobs, paying jobs, and they're choosing not to work anymore. They're either going to other companies in some cases, or in some cases, they're seriously deciding to sit on the couch and watch Netflix instead, rather than go to a workplace where they're not inspired and they're stressed out and they've got horrible bosses. So some people call it the Great Protest. Some people call it the Great Realization. And it's got nothing to do with the pandemic. The pandemic potentially brought it to our attention, but this was an underlying problem in many companies well before the pandemic came along. And for me, it's just a cry for help. It's people sick and tired of working in companies where they don't understand why they do what they do, where they're not engaged, and where they're not treated with respect. It's a cry for help. And that leads us to the latest trend, which we now have a label for. And once again, in the chat, if you've heard of this before, please let me know. It's called quiet quitting. And if you follow people on LinkedIn like Dr. Ray and myself, you'll see a lot of us chatting about quiet quitting and trying to work out what this is all about. And what quiet quitting is people are reverting back to doing the bare minimum. They're deciding that they're just going to stick to their job description. If they're getting paid to work between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., that's it, not a minute longer. If their job description says their job is this, they don't go out of the swim lane anymore. They don't do that extra effort that's required to get a job done. They point to their job description and say, no, that's what you're paying me to do. Now, some commentators are looking at this and saying, well, it's just people setting boundaries. And where that's the case, I applaud that. People should have boundaries. You should have clear boundaries about what's acceptable to you and what you won't tolerate. And if those boundaries include setting clearer boundaries around work-life balance, then I applaud that. But for me, it's deeper than that. The deep problem is actually the disengagement that comes along with it. It's not that they're saying, okay, I'm only working 9 to 6. It's not that they're saying that this is my job description. It's the fact that they're stepping back and they don't care anymore. They're doing the bare minimum to make sure that they don't get fired. Or in some cases, they're sitting at work and scrolling through TikTok and Facebook or applying for a job at another company on company time. That's what's happening in many companies around the world. And it's this lack of engagement that's the real issue, not the setting of boundaries. Setting of boundaries, wonderful thing. So I'm going to go into a bit of psychology now as to what led us to all of this. And it'll help us set the scene for why all of this purpose and meaning that I'm going to talk about is really important. And the question I want to start with, I want you to really think about this. Who is holding the steering wheel of your life? Who is holding the steering wheel of your life? What this comes down to is people don't like being told what to do. People like to believe that they are the ones that are making decisions and choices that influence their life. So with 3, 4, 5 decades of alpha style leadership, people have had enough. They've had enough of being told what to do. They want to grab hold of that steering wheel and to be the one that's making decisions that impact their life. Now, this is all rooted in science. I'm going to talk to you about a guy called William Glasser. William Glasser, a lot of people talk about Glasser's pyramid. Funny side story. He never created that pyramid, but what he did create is called choice theory. And choice theory documents 5 fundamental human needs that we all have. And they're roughly in priority order, but it's not quite as clear-cut as that. The first one is survival. And survival, this instinct, is why our fight, flight, or freeze mechanism in our brain is so strong. When we feel under threat, we either fight back, run away, or completely freeze. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, that's very good. And survival, that's, caveman times and saber-toothed tigers outside the cave. But I want you to stop and think about that. Does survival instinct kick in the workplace? And the answer is yes. People feel under threat. They feel worried about their jobs. They feel under threat from their peers, their bosses, from their boss's boss. So our survival instinct does kick in the workplace. The next one is the need for love and belonging. And this can show up in very virtuous ways, wonderful ways. Camaraderie, and all of these things that make the glue of what makes an amazing team. But it can also drive us towards some unusual behavior. Love and belonging is where social conformity fits in. And most of you have a quality background, so this could be really interesting to you. This is where we end up with conformity to the point where someone asks someone, why do we do that this way? And someone will just answer, well, that's the way we've always done it. And love and belonging can lead us to the point where the need to belong is greater than the need to be right. And people start going along with things. And this is where you can end up with some toxic cultures in organizations, because people see the behavior around them. They start mimicking that behavior. So this need for love and belonging should be a good thing, but it can also be insidious. It's also why inclusion is so important. The next need is the need for power. Similar thing. This can be a good and a bad thing. Human beings are one of the only creatures on this planet that have this desire to want to better themselves at the expense of another human being. And I'm sure you've seen that in the workplace, where someone's actions are to put someone else down so that they look better. So that's the insidious part of power. The good part of power is the root of that is to feel like we matter. We all want to feel like we matter, and I'm going to come back to that one. The fourth one is the need for fun, and sometimes we forget that. We get a bit serious and we forget to let our hair down sometime, and I'm sure those who are watching on the camera realize I don't have any hair anymore, but it is important to have fun in the workplace sometimes. And the fifth one, really important, is the need for freedom. And freedom shows up in 2 ways. The first one is freedom of choice. People want to have freedom to make their own decisions. Even if you're an amazing leader with many followers, those followers want to feel like they made a conscious choice to follow you, not that they were forced to. And that's when you can become a great leader and influence people into meaningful action around your worthy cause. And the second one is freedom from oppression. And I'm not talking about dictatorships here. I'm not talking about nation countries, Idi Amin, or anything like that. I'm talking about in the workplace, people don't want to feel oppressed. They don't want to feel like Big Brother is always looking over them and trying to get them to abide by the rules every second of the day. So our fundamental human rights or fundamental human needs are for survival, for love and belonging, for power, for fun, and for freedom. to feel like we matter, and to feel like we're making our own choices about what we do. Now, how does that show up then in the workplace? The first thing is that we've had a predisposition for the last 3, 4, or 5 decades towards management. And management style is generally to tell people what to do and how to do it, to focus on performance, to focus on to-do lists and task lists, and to the point where the manager can get so carried away that the project performance becomes more important than the people around them. And you can see from our 5 fundamental human needs where that rubs people up the wrong way. That's no way to engage people, to do it to this extreme. What we need is to balance that out with leadership. And a leader is someone that's able to inspire people into action because they want to do it, not because they were told to do it. Someone that sees a bigger picture, a vision, can give people purpose of why they're doing what they're doing, not just what they're doing. To create an environment where people become their very best version of themselves and they take care of those in their charge. It's not about being in charge. They take care of those in their charge, and they provide a psychologically safe environment where people can do their best work. Now, I'm not here to say management is bad. Remember, the word is balance. And it's been imbalanced the other way for far too long, where performance was everything and people were a secondary thought. Whereas in leadership, we want to focus on people and believe that the results will come because of that focus on people. So what do people look for in leaders? There's many attributes. I'd love to see people in the chat if you want to comment on what you look for in a leader. I've got some attributes here for you. They want to feel like they're valued, and they want to feel like they matter. And that's the job of the leader, for every single person to feel that. They want trust, and for that trust to be bidirectional. They want authenticity, because when the leader shows up as their authentic self, it gives them the comfort that they can also show up as their authentic self. And anything beyond that is just exhausting. To show up to work every day playing a role like the job of manager today will be played by Mick Spiers, an actor. No. We want to show up as our authentic self every day and bring our own superpowers to the table, not be playing a role that we think is important. They expect leaders to give vision, purpose, and impact. And that's what the purpose of today's presentation will be, to get that into more detail. They want leaders that share openly their values and beliefs, but then live by those values and beliefs. And that's where trust comes from. If you want to build trust as a leader, you declare your values and beliefs, and then your behaviors are congruent with those values and beliefs. If you want to break or erode trust, you go out there and you tell people what your values are, but then you behave in a different way. So values and beliefs, very important. They want empowerment and enablement, and they do want accountability and responsibility. And I'm putting those two together on purpose. There's a lot of leaders out there that are saying statements like, oh, I can't get anyone to take accountability anymore. I can't get anyone to take responsibility for their actions anymore. But we know from the psychology that people crave accountability and responsibility. But what they don't want is to be given accountability and responsibility without the empowerment, enablement, and trust that they can do the job, because that's just setting them up for failure. So unless they are empowered to make decisions that influence the outcome, unless they're enabled with the resources to do the job, unless they are trusted to do the job, of course they don't want accountability and responsibility. But if they're provided with that empowerment, enablement, and trust, they will willingly take on accountability for their performance. Part of that then comes a no blame culture, the ability to then stick up your hand when things don't go well, the ability to stick up your hand and ask for help if you need to, the ability to stick up your hand if something has gone wrong and get everyone around you to help you. That's what people want. And ultimately, they want their leader to inspire them. They want to be inspired. That's what's lacking. That's why people are quiet quitting. That's why people are resigning. So let's break that down. How do you do it? Now, this comes from Simon Sinek. I'm sure many of you have heard of Simon. He's a marketer turned leadership guru and very smart and very articulate. He invented something called the golden circle, where he was able to codify one of the greatest things that any leader can do. And that is to reverse this equation. What happens in the marketplace today is that most leaders start with what? They'll even say, so what do you do? Oh, we make air conditioners. Or we do this, we do that. They start with what they do. But great leaders are able to reverse that, and they start with why they do what they do. So instead of saying, I make traffic control systems, you say, we're creating a city where people can move freely around without delays, without congestion, without stress, so they can have a greater quality of life and spend more time with their families and less time commuting. That's the same thing, just said differently. How we do that is through advanced traffic management solutions. Right? So we say why first, then we move to the what. And it's far more inspiring because, as Simon puts it, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And that applies to leadership as much as it does a company who is trying to market their solutions. Another key one comes from Nitschke as to why all of this is important. Why the why is important. Now, for Friedrich Nietzsche, he said that, and forgive me that this is gender specific, he comes from a different era. He who has a why to live can bear any how. Now, for Nietzsche, that was about concentration camps. He was a prisoner of war. He was oppressed, but his why to live could outlive anything that any of the guards did to him and those around him. Now, you might think that's a little extreme, but have a think about what's happening in the workplace today. There is turmoil. We've been through the worst pandemic I can remember and come out the other side of it, I hope. It might be a complaining customer one day where it's a very stressful situation. But if you have a powerful why to live, you can get through any of that. It might be just bureaucracy that you're putting up with a whole heap of requirements and processes that you don't see the reason for those processes. But if you have a strong why, you'll bear with it and you'll work through it. So why is really important. Now, how does it show up in leadership? Well, people crave purpose and meaning. That's what's missing. They're missing the understanding of why they do has meaning and has some kind of impact. So if you want to attract and retain a powerful team around you, you need to be out there and to be able to articulate your purpose, meaning, and impact with deep clarity, to be able to articulate your values and beliefs. And then what happens, and this has happened multiple times in my career, by the way. It took me a while to learn this lesson, but once I learn it, it's worked every time. When you're able to articulate your purpose, vision, values, and beliefs with clarity, you then surround yourselves with people that believe what you believe. And when someone believes in the mission, believes in the purpose, believes in the meaning, they'll do almost anything. Forget your quiet quitting. They'll put in those discretionary efforts. They'll swim outside their swim lane when it's appropriate to do so just to get the job done. They'll work those extra hours to make sure you hit that deadline if they believe in the mission. Now, why is that? People want to feel good about what they do. They want to feel good about themselves. They want to be able to go home to their families at the end of the day, proud of the work that they did. Instead of saying, "Oh, how was work today, dear?" Grumble, grumble, grumble. It was work. It was amazing. We managed to do something that impacted people's lives. They want to feel good about what they do. They want to feel good about themselves. And they want to feel like what they do actually matters. Not that they worked the hours and the money appeared in the bank account and they were able to put food on the table and the roof on the head. All important things, by the way. They want to feel like what they did actually mattered. And mattering starts with purpose. Now, Mary Parker Follett put this the best. Leaders and followers are both following the invisible leader, and that's the common purpose. When you have a powerful team, everyone seems to be aligning in some way, maybe not perfectly, but aligning some way towards some kind of common purpose that collectively they believe in. And that's when magic can happen. You go from this mess of everyone all over the place, not understanding what they're doing or why it's important. They're just all over the place, through to this alignment, this purpose alignment. Once again, it's still not perfect. If you have a look at the shape of these arrows, people are still a little bit skewed left, skewed right, etc. But they're all heading in the general direction of a common purpose. And this is when you can truly unlock the power, the collective power of a team, and create something that is greater than the sum of the parts. This is what we're striving for. This allows us to get that alignment, to get people generally heading in the same direction. Doesn't have to be perfect, but generally heading in the same direction instead of working against or even accidentally working against the mission or counterproductively to the mission. When you have alignment, every step that you make is roughly in the right direction, which creates a lot of efficiency. You don't have a lot of wasted effort. You can focus your energies towards the purpose and towards what's important. It helps you with problem solving. If everyone understands the purpose and the meaning of what you're doing, the why, when you're faced with a problem, the problem solving is so much more effective because you can ask yourself the right question. Does this solution move us towards the goal? Does this solution move us towards our purpose? Does this solution have a meaningful impact on the people that we're trying to serve? You can't do that unless you've got clarity of purpose and clarity of why. It can also help avoid what's called the manager's dilemma. And the manager's dilemma, you probably have all felt this at some point, even if you don't know the name of it before now. That's when someone comes to you asking you a question where you're certain that they probably already know the answer, but they're just checking in with you. And that's very inefficient. When there's clarity of purpose, everyone understands. Go, yeah, this works. And they keep marching down the road. And then it empowers people to be part of the solution. When people understand the why, they feel empowered to be part of the solution instead of just doing their job and doing what they're told. The other reason for purpose and meaning, if you don't follow any of this for any other reason than this one, this is a good enough reason. Purpose is the root of joy. When you have a line, oh, okay, something has happened with the slides there. Apologies. So I'm just going to blank that out. Just talk about it. When you have a clear purpose, it brings you joy. Joy is different to pleasure. Joy is that deep feeling that what you do is important. Joy comes from helping other human beings and establishes what we call the meaningful life. And the meaningful life is this renewable joy that goes on for days, weeks, months. Not the pleasure of scrolling through Facebook and TikTok, which might feel good for a short period of time. Joy is a renewable feeling that goes on because you have purpose in your life. Now, before we go any further, I want to give a little bit of a warning here, and that is, with all of these people out in the world talking about purpose all the time, including me, including Zach Mercurio, including Simon Sinek, etc., that people can develop what we call purpose anxiety. All right. And this is where people are talking about it so much, they start questioning themselves. Well, why can't I find my purpose? And I've seen 20-year-olds starting to get worried, oh, what's wrong with me? Why can't I find my purpose? Everyone else can. So just be aware of that. And my guidance for you on that one is, in that case, don't push it. Don't push it. It will emerge. And there's ways that it can emerge that I'm going to talk about very shortly. Start looking where you are first before you jump jobs and go somewhere else because you look around and you can't see the purpose of what you're doing in your current job. Look where you are first and see if purpose can emerge there. Look for common threads of what you're doing every day and what's impactful. Some other advice would be to avoid connecting your self-worth to what you do. Very dangerous, because if what you do changes, you might then start questioning your self-worth. My favorite story here, NFL star Anthony Trucks. The very fact that I introduce him as NFL star Anthony Trucks is part of the problem, because he hitched his identity to being an NFL star. And when he got a season, or more than a season, a career-ending injury, that went away for him. And he started questioning who he was. So don't connect your self-worth to what you do. Also, don't connect it to a goal. A goal is something that can be achieved by definition. So the classic syndrome here is Olympic syndrome. The Olympic athlete that puts their whole identity against winning a gold medal. And the question is, well, what happens if they win the gold medal? Is that it? They're done? What happens if they don't win the gold medal? Does that mean they're worthless? Of course not. So be careful putting your purpose or your identity towards a goal. All right, so let's work through some examples of looking where you are first. You're probably wondering why I'm showing you a roll of tissue paper here. What on earth has that got to do with purpose? This comes from my good friend, Zach Mercurio. And Zach studies purpose deeply at the University of Michigan. He's the author of the book, The Invisible Leader, and just a genuinely amazing human being. And he studies purpose deeply. He interviews university professors, engineers, to doctors, people from all walks of life about purpose. And this one day, he interviewed the janitor at the university and was asking her about her purpose. And this was her answer. I ensure that the students at this school don't get sick so that they can finish their studies, so that they can go on and change the world. When asked what she does, she didn't say, I clean toilets, I mop the floors, I wash the dishes. Listen to the words that she said. I ensure the students at this school do not get sick so that they can finish their studies, so that they can go on and change the world. So if a janitor at a university can find purpose, you can too. And it starts by asking yourself these kind of questions. How do I serve others? How do I help at least one other human being in what I do? What would happen if I stopped doing that? That can really start blossoming out and emerging the impact of what you do. If you think about what would happen if you stopped? What would happen if I did more of that thing? If I either did more of it for that one individual or I did the same thing for more individuals? Does my purpose and meaning increase? These are the questions to ask yourself. How do I serve others? What would happen if I stopped doing that? What would happen if I did more of that? And purpose can start emerging for you. And the powerful parts are the so that statements. That's where the why can emerge. Don't just stop at the statement. It's the so that's. So come back to our janitor again. I ensure that the students at this school don't get sick so that they can finish their studies, so that they can go on and change the world. The statement doesn't have as much meaning until you do several of those so that statements. So this is what it might look like. So a purpose statement is structured something like this. I, or we, if you're a team, exist to do something for someone so that they can do something. So my purpose statement, I exist to provide leaders with the skills and knowledge that they need to create amazing teams and amazing workspaces so that people fall in love with their jobs again. When people have got this purpose and meaning articulated, they then want to get out of bed every morning. They then want to go to work. They then want to put in the extra effort when they believe in that purpose. Now, there's a lot of people out there saying, well, what if everyone just had their individual purpose, or it'd just be a mess? It'd be all over the place. Well, where the magic happens is at the intersection of purpose. So it might start with the individual, a personal purpose, which is more about why me. Then it collides with a group purpose, why us. And then it collides with a meaningful need that the world, or at least one other human being, needs. And that becomes who cares. And when you can answer those questions, why me, why us, who cares, you're starting to get to the intersection of group purpose and something that can go on to be meaningful. Now, to bring all of this into a conclusion, what are people looking for in the workplace today? They want purpose and meaning. And it's up to the leader to give them that. And it starts with what is the group purpose? So what are we all trying to achieve? But it also includes breaking it down to each individual so that they understand how their individual contribution contributes to the higher need, so that they don't just go home at the end of the day and go, I did my spreadsheets on time today. I guess I'm happy with that. No, they understand what they do and how it helps the rest of the team around them and how it helps the mission, the purpose, the impact. That's when they find purpose and meaning, the individual as well as the collective. People want their voice and their opinion to be heard. They don't just want to be told what to do. They've all got ideas. Few of them are given the right environment to express those ideas. They want a great culture. They want a great culture where the right behaviors are rewarded and celebrated, and behaviors that are not congruent with the values and beliefs in the team are not tolerated. So they want a great culture. They want to feel like they belong. Come back to Glass's love and belonging. This is why inclusion is so important. You all know you do a better job when you feel like you belong, when you feel included. And for anyone out there that's struggling with, well, what's this inclusion all about? If you're struggling to understand what inclusion is, think about its opposite. Think about exclusion. Think about how that feels. I'm sure every single one of you has had a moment in your career or life where you felt like you're on the outside. Might have been in the schoolyard, it might have been in the workplace, but it doesn't feel good. And you all must know that when someone doesn't feel like they belong, they're not going to do their very best work. So not only is it bad for the individual to feel excluded, it's bad for business, it's bad for the company. They want to be inspired. They want to be inspired. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to be inspired around a worthy cause. And then they want to feel like what they do matters. They want to feel individually like they matter. They want to feel collectively like they matter. And they want to feel that what they do matters. This is what people are looking for. Now, that concludes the speech. I've got a few little things to share with you to say that we do run programs around high performance leadership, one called the Gateway to High Performance Leadership, one called the Fundamentals of High Performance Leadership. And they're done in a manner of micro learning, in collaborative and social learning, etc. So it's spread out over multiple weeks so that you learn one new habit at a time. And if people would like to get in contact with me, my email is mick@mickspiers.com, and our website address is www.mickspiers.com. And I'll just leave that up for a little while so that you can jot that down, or if someone can put it in the chat, that would be great as well. And it was a great pleasure talking to you today. So I'll hand back to Hill at this point. Thank you.
Hello, Mick. Thank you very much for that very wonderful sharing about your take on leadership. For sure, that with all your experiences regarding leadership and being a lead in different projects, including this leadership project that you are spearheading right now, for sure, a lot of the things that you shared were based on those experiences. And thank you for being generous in sharing them to all of us here in PSQ Nation. So thank you very much again for that, Mick. Of course, that very informative session is followed by a quick question and answer portion, which now gives a floor or an opportunity for our participants who are from different parts of the world to share their thoughts or leave questions addressed to our speaker, Sir Mick. No, we have a lot of quality leaders from around the world. We have I just would like to very quickly acknowledge them. We have from Bangladesh, we have from Pakistan, yeah, and then Cambodia also. And of course, we have local audiences from here in the Philippines. We have from as far as Manila, Laguna, Cebu, no, here in the Philippines. So thank you very much for joining us. Now, of course, there are questions for sure. Please key in those comments in our chat or in the comment section in whatever platform you're viewing our free webinar into, so that we could ask Sir Mick those questions. I have one here. Actually, this is one of the things that I was able to capture during your talk earlier, Sir Mick, about the phenomenon on quiet quitting. And I think this is a question that myself and Sir Ray share, no, because we have had some talks about it. With all the buzz in the social media space on quiet quitting, what do you think are the two
or the top two things that a leader can focus on to address this phenomenon?
Two things, very, very clear, Hill. The first one is give people purpose and meaning, just like we've been talking about today. The second one is to ask better questions. Ask better questions and listen to the answers. So take the time to get to know your team, find out what's going on with them. Instead of telling them what to do, sit down with them and ask them how they're feeling right now. Are they engaged? Do they understand the purpose and impact of what they do? And if I go a little bit further around this kind of comment around what we call the extreme question experiment, instead of the next team meeting that you go into, instead of saying, right, team, here are our objectives for the week, and this is why they're important, just reverse it and say, hey, everyone, what do you think our main objective is this week? And what do you think makes that important? And what positive impact will come if we're able to do that? And what challenges do you see in front of us? You're doing the same content, but you've reversed the order. And now all of a sudden they go, the boss actually cares about what I think and what I know. So if you want to engage and you want people to stop quitting, engage them better through better questions, get to know them better, and give them purpose and meaning.
Thank you very much, Sir Mick, for those very practical strategies that we could do to combat the quiet quitting, which goes back to one of the few things also that I was able to get from the talk earlier. No, I was able to see how really important it is for workers to have that sense of purpose. Right, and it's also, of course, since we're talking about leadership, our leaders must see very clearly these different purposes: the personal purpose, the group purpose, the common purpose, no, so that really this purpose will push everyone in the corporation or in the company or the organization to strive hard and even harder. Right, purpose is very important. Thank you very much for further infusing that into our minds through your talk earlier, Mick. There is another question that I am seeing. Um, you shared also, Mick, earlier, no, the attributes of being a great leader is authenticity, or being authentic. Now, for you, Mick, how could someone be really authentic in the workplace?
Yeah, really good. The first thing is actually self-awareness. So you need to get in touch with yourself. So you need to understand what you believe, what you value, and then you're able to share that with your team. Share your values and beliefs. It also has an element of vulnerability, the ability to admit when you don't know all the answers. Too many leaders out there think that they have to be the smartest person in the room. It's not the case at all. Yes, you need to be clever. Yes, you need to ask the right questions, but you don't have to have all the answers. You've got an incredible and smart team around you. So being able to admit when you don't know, being able to admit your weaknesses, your shortcomings, to be able to understand what maybe your blind spots are, and to enable your team to show you what your blind spots are, because we all have them. It's game changing. Everyone looks at you and goes, oh, wow, this is the real boss now. This is the real boss opening up, being open and transparent with us about what they're good at and what they're not good at. And the funny thing about this is, like John C. Maxwell, I'll borrow this one from him, who's amazing kind of colleague in this area. And when challenged about this vulnerability and authenticity of sharing your shortcomings, one leader once challenged him and said, oh, but that's a sign of weakness. Won't people think less of you? And his simple answer was this: well, that's because you think they don't already know. So people are very observant. They understand what's going on. And when you're authentic, it builds trust. When you get to that meeting and say, hey, team, and for me, I'll give an example right now. I openly say to my team, hey, team, I'm not good at the small details. I'm good at the vision, I'm good at the purpose. I'm not good at the small details. The whole team breathes a sigh of relief. They go, oh, good. Mick knows that he's not good at details, right? So it just creates trust and it creates that authenticity.
Wow, there are a lot of things that we should really be aware of in terms of authenticity. And the first thing, as shared by Mick, your awareness of yourself. So thank you very much for answering that. I think we have room for one more question. And let me read it on behalf of one of our YouTube viewers. Now, from Mr. Noel Ascano, he asked, this has something to do with the purpose. Okay, how do you know when you've found your purpose?
So great question, Noel. I'll go relatively quick on this. But so first thing is when you ask yourself those questions about how do I help other human beings? What would I do if I stopped doing that thing? What would I do more? And if purpose starts to emerging, you will start to feel it. The next thing will be when you start getting that renewable joy, when you're feeling for days and weeks afterwards that you helped that other human being, that you still feel really good about yourself. So it's this renewable joy. And then you're going to find yourself in moments where you're waking up earlier, you're busting to open up your computer, you're busting to do whatever it is because you really want to be there, right? And you're feeling the purpose and meaning of what you're doing. And that's when you go, okay, yep, I'm definitely onto something here.
All right, thank you very much. Maybe this is the very last question. If Mick could still accommodate this, no, just before we end our learning session for today. Joel Paramo from YouTube is asking, Mick, generally with 80% of businesses being MSMEs, how would your leadership trainings reach them given most MSMEs are financially constrained for training funding? So maybe that's a good way for you to also bridge your the activities
Yeah.
from the project.
So wonderful, Joel. So what we've done, we recognize the economy and where some of those businesses are at. So I did mention two programs before. The Gateway program, I'll be honest, that's our flagship program. And it's a high investment. It's a high investment program, but a high return program. The Fundamentals program, we've purposely curated that in a way that makes the investment more affordable. And what we do is we bring together people. It makes it really powerful for collective and social learning as well. And micro learning, we then spread it out over an 8 week. It's not the kind of thing that you go and intensively do for a week at a high investment. We spread it out over 8 weeks. You learn one new leadership habit at a time. You go and apply that new leadership habit, and then you reflect on it. So learn, do, reflect. And it's a far more effective learning at the same time as keeping the investment more manageable.
All right, learn to reflect. That's the key towards that. No, thank you very much, Sir Mick, and of course, Sir Joel, for that question, which Dr. Ray clarifies that it's actually more than 95% our MSMEs here in the Philippines. So
I'm
yeah.
not surprised at all, Dr. Ray and Hill. That's not surprised at that number at all. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. And I believe that if our different audiences and members of PSQ Nation have further questions or queries or are interested to connect with Mick, I believe that we have it here in uh, our chat. Miss Irene has shared the website of www.mickspiers.com and Mick's email, mick@mickspiers.com. So if you wish to know more about the leadership project, and of course about our speaker Mick Spiers, please do not hesitate to get in touch with them. Any last words? Very quick last words, Sir Mick.
I'll just say, Hill, that I'm also quite prolific on LinkedIn. I share a lot of leadership thoughts on there every single day. So if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, yeah, we'll continue learning together as as we learn together, lead together. And yeah, a great honor to be here today. Thank you so much. And thank you for your hosting, Hill. That was very good. And thank you to everyone for your attention and your great questions. I wish you the best of luck as you go out there and pursue your own purpose and meaning and find that rewarding and fulfilling joy that you can find by pursuing your purpose.
Thank you, Mick. For sure that with your talk this afternoon, no, we are now further engaged to have or to find that purpose and the meaning. Thank you very much once again. It's a pleasure in behalf of the Philippine Society for Quality to have you. That's why we are giving this certificate of appreciation given to Mick Spiers for imparting valuable insights and inspiration to the participants during the September 2022 International Webinar of PSQ with the topic Leading with Purpose and Meaning on September 27, 2022. Signed by Dr. Ray B. Fremista, the President of the Philippine Society for Quality. So once
Thank you,
again, thank
Fly.
you very much, Mick. And we hope to see you again in next learning sessions.
We'd love to. Thank you.
Once again, PSQ Nation, that's Mick Spiers, a best-selling author and keynote speaker, our keynote speaker, and the CEO and principal of the Leadership Project. Of course, we would like to hear your feedback. So please, no, scan this QR code, no, or enter the link that is already being shared or that's already shared in your respective comments or in the comment section of the platforms where you're viewing right now, so that you could register, so that you could provide feedback, and in turn also be able to get your respective certificates. All right. And with that, I'd like to end this by reintroducing to you PSQ Nation. What is PSQ? Or the Philippine Society for Quality, a national professional non-stock nonprofit organization established 1969, but still going strong right now in providing providing and spearheading quality initiatives, no, for the entire country. Its vision is to be the leading network that inspires and shapes quality and organizational excellence leaders. And to do that or to reach that vision, of course, is the mission of PSQ, a network of agile, innovative, and trusted partner of choice who create value and drive advancement in quality and organizational excellence. Some of the speakers that PSQ has invited over the years are the following people that you're seeing on screen. And these are, all, of course, top tier personalities in quality all over the world, including Dr. Noriani Cano, who we will be seeing again in one of the upcoming events of PSQ. The following are some of the many organizations that PSQ has collaborated with over the years, and of course, together with you, all members of PSQ Nation. We have had, or PSQ also spearheads and involves itself with a lot of trainings for all of you quality enthusiasts. This is just a very short list of all those trainings that are made available. And these are the awards that PSQ is managing or giving or uh, implementing, including the Duran Medal and the Philippine Quality Award, a quest for excellence, which is, of course, PSQ is tied up with the Department of Trade and Industry as the administrator of the private sector. As I mentioned earlier, no, I'm part of the technical hubs of the Philippine Society for Quality, which was officially launched this year. Technical hubs connects ideas, generates value, and creates the future. So we hope to see you in one of these 5 technical hubs: the Lean Six Sigma, Quality Management, Kaizen, Innovation and Digital Thinking, and the Educators Network. So we look forward to seeing you there. And of course, for the upcoming 33rd National Quality Forum happening on October 20 to 21, 2022, we already have several media partners and different sponsors, including my home university, National University Philippines, as its platinum sponsor. We have a good lineup of speakers as always. And as I mentioned, Dr. Cano is part of the lineup of speakers during this 33rd National Quality Forum. If you haven't registered yet, please do it the soonest possible time. It's not yet too late. You could still join us in this biggest gathering of quality practitioners and enthusiasts in the Philippines and even in the world, probably. Yeah. So, yeah, if you wish to know more about the Philippine Society for Quality, join us now. Message secretariat at psq.org.ph. PH, and follow our different social media platforms. We're available, or you could reach us via Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course we have PSQ Nation as a YouTube account. We also have Instagram, yes, and our website www.psq.org.ph. I believe that's about it for our learning session this afternoon. I hope you had fun, and I hope you really did had these great takeaways that you could apply with yourselves and in your respective organizations. Remember, find purpose and meaning in the things that we do for ourselves and for our organizations. This is again Hilmalian Jr. On behalf of PSQ, or the Philippine Society for Quality. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us, and we hope to see you again in the next learning sessions. Keep safe, and thank you very much.